Lake Erie shimmers in the summer sun as you approach Cleveland's Burt Lakefront Airport, but you better not plan to land. Once a year, these runways are given over to the fastest circuit racers in the world, the stars of the CART FedEx Championship Series. Welcome to Cleveland, Ohio, and the CART Grand Prix of Cleveland. Welcome, everyone. I'm Bob Marshall, along with three-time Cleveland winner Danny Sullivan, in the best grandstand in motorsports on the runway here at Cleveland. Now, each week on ABC, Drew Carey tells you that Cleveland rocks. Let me tell you, it does. From the flats by the river to the Jake to the racetrack by the lake here at Burt Lakefront Airport, Danny, we are way overdressed, but you can't get a better vantage point than this.
Bob, you're actually right. I'm normally out there on the track, which is a great spot, but up here with all these fans, this is the best seat in road racing. From these seats right here, you can see all of the track. The best show, the best fans. Are you all loud enough? I can't hear you. This place is great. I love it.
We are rocking here at Cleveland, and of course the star of the show for the last few races has been Italy's Alex Zanardi. Last year he started on pole, went to the back of the pack, came back and won. One thing you know, when Zanardi's around, things are gonna be wild. And when it comes to wild, nobody knows better than last year's worst to first race winner at Cleveland, Alex Zanardi.
Talk wild, look up wild in the dictionary, and there's a picture of turn one at Cleveland. Now, I might be a few fries short of a Happy Meal, and chances are that's why they have me in a 100-foot crane, but you will not find me complaining because I have got an absolutely killer spot to call the action. And by action, you don't have to watch too many starts to know what I mean. Chances are the aftermath of turn one often looks like a yard sale with junk everywhere. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but I guarantee you it will be wild.
There is the field making its way around. Jimmy Vasser leading the way with a shot at $100,000 if he can win, and a much bigger bonus if he can do it from pole. There is Vasser, who starts alongside Dario Franchitti, who had a brilliant qualifying session for Team Cool Green. On row two will be Alex Zanardi, the points leader and defending race champion, and Brian Herta. On row three will be Paul Tracy, the 93 Cleveland winner, and Mark Blundell. To row four, Michael Andretti, the 91 winner, and Mauricio Gugelmin. On row five, Al Unser Jr., a two-time winner here, and Bobby Rahal, who won the very first running. Row six, Gilles de Ferran, who won in '96, and Greg Moore. On row seven, Christian Fittipaldi and Scott Pruitt, who was second at our most recent race. Row eight, Patrick Carpentier and Richie Hearn with 4 top 10 finishes this year. Row nine, Adrian Fernandez and Max Pappas, his best starting position yet this year. Row 10, Tony Kanaan and Robbie Gordon. On row 11, J.J. Leto from Finland and Michel Jourdain Jr. from Mexico. On row 12, Elio Castroneves and Andre Ribeiro, 5th quickest in the morning warm-up. Row 13 will be Arndt Meyer and P.J. Jones in Dan Gurney's All-American Racers entry. And on row 14, Alex Barron, Joe's teammate, and Dennis Vitolo. Now there is Greg Moore. What a weekend he has had. He comes in on probation for a wild start 3 weeks ago in Portland. Let's take you back to the Budweiser G.I. Joe's Grand Prix. Watch Moore in the box, who started on the outside of row 7 in the 14th spot, nearly clipped his teammate Patrick Carpentier getting to the inside, and when he reached turn 1, he flew across the curbs, and a melee broke out that knocked 3 cars out of the race. Here's the view from Bobby Rahal's car. Watch the upper right, incoming. So Moore finds himself on probation. He will have to be very careful today. He's also dealing with a sick stomach. Paul Tracy is also on probation here for aggressive driving earlier in the season. Now, Danny Sullivan, we are approaching the start of round 10. We begin the second half of the season here at Cleveland.
This is one of the trickiest places to start because it is so wide. Look at the width of these runways. you could get 10, 12 cars abreast going across that, and they funnel down into a very narrow area down there. You have to be so careful. You're coming from about 160 miles an hour down into about 30 miles an hour to get around there. It's so easy to bottleneck up and hit somebody else, and your race is done.
As you can see, the heat haze shimmers on the straightaway leading to the pit in. A quick right and left-hander, and the field will be turned loose for 100 laps of this 2.106-mile racetrack. 28 cars glinting in the sun. Tens of thousands of fans on their feet. They will now face the green flag and head for Tommy Kendall in turn 1.
You've got the guys, now watch them. As soon as they hit the line, they'll fan out. Green flag, 3, 4 wide. They've got a pretty good amount of space. Vassar's far enough ahead. Guys heading to the outside. So far, everybody through clean. That's Tony Kanaan spins around, doesn't take anyone else out. I think Robbie Gordon trying to do a Buffalo Boy around the outside. All clean. Vassar streaks off into turn 3 unscathed.
And with about a 4-car length advantage over his teammate.
This is exactly what Jimmy wanted. He needed a good, clean start. He jumped it perfectly, which he's allowed to do being the pole sitter, and away he went.
Meanwhile, it's a nightmare for Robbie Gordon. You saw him saying, push me, get me started, let me get back into this.
The problem there is that there's nobody close by at a lot of other trucks. They got to come way far away and get out to him. With all those cars going around the track, they're not keen to do that.
But Danny, Jimmy Vassar is driving with a few concerns on these initial laps. In the early practice session, he didn't get a lot of time in that final practice because the gearbox let him down, and they had to replace the engine for fear that they may have hurt the motor. So this is all R&D for them right now. A confirmation that the exchange early this morning has worked to their advantage.
Luckily, Jack, that they did a lot of practice the other day after he set Saturday morning, setting up his car for the race. So luckily, they've got some time in with their race setup.
That was Jack Arute in the pits a moment ago. Gary Gerould is down there as well. Al Unser Jr. on the first lap went from 9th to 5th. The order is Vassar, Zanardi, Tracy, Dario Franchitti, who started on the front row. Al Unser Jr. as you ride along with Alex Zanardi in second place. Unser Jr. is 5th. Then Michael Andretti, Mark Blundell, Brian Herta, who dropped back. Bobby Rahal is now 9th, and Christian Fittipaldi is 10th.
See, Alex is trying very hard. We saw his hands go opposite lock, correcting the slide. You don't want to be doing that this early on. You'll use up the life of those tires, which are very fragile here at Cleveland.
Everybody talks about Jimmy Vassar. They use words like consistency, steady, so forth. If you saw him leave turn 1 last lap, big, huge power slide. He wants that those 250,000 clams. He is on the pedal. Alex Zanardi, you saw how hard he's trying, but he's not making a dent on Vassar's lead.
We'll be talking about it a lot until someone wins it. The Marlboro Rollover Pole Award bonus money, $10,000 automatically to the man who wins the pole. In today's case, that man, Jimmy Vassar. Also, $15,000 extra if you can win the race from pole. Nobody's done that since that man, Alex Zanardi, 1 year ago, right here at Burke Lakefront Airport. And so the rollover bonus has now reached $255,000. If Vassar can win, he'll keep the 10, he'll keep $100,000 first place purse, and add $255,000 in Marlboro money, $365 grand, a nice weekend of work. Vassar leads Zanardi as they come down to complete lap 3. A great day for racing, a big crowd on hand. Stay with us. Now, we had a bit of fun on Thursday afternoon with Alex Zanardi on a closed Burke Lakefront Airport runway. But remember, when you're riding motorcycles on public roads, please always ride responsibly and always wear a helmet. We'll be back to the city that rocks. You're looking live from high above, turn number 8 at Burke Lakefront Airport, and that is the car of Canadian Greg Moore. After a 4-car incident on lap 4 of this 100-lap Grand Prix of Cleveland, here's how it unfolded. Danny Sullivan.
Greg gets out here in the grass right there, spins the car, goes around sideways, pretty harmless, stops, boom. 1 car connects, 2 car connects, and then the Hogan car, J.J. Leto, flexes him in a big way. Everybody else has to drive through the debris.
Now, the pits were opened immediately, so that cars that might have run over some of that debris could get in. The 4 cars involved: Greg Moore, Elio Castro Neves for the Alumax team, Tony Bettenhausen's car, Michel Jourdain Jr. from Peyton Coyne Racing, the Herdez machine, and J.J. Leto from Hogan Racing in the Universal Studios, Reynard. Greg Moore was the fastest man in the morning warm-up.
He's trying to get stopped there. He's going to the inside of the track where he wants to. Jourdain runs over right there. The Alumax car of Castroneves over there. And then J.J. Leto, nowhere to go, just takes the whole front end right off of the car. Everybody else you'll see come through the shot right now, right up in here, having to drive over the debris that'll probably puncture a tire. Now, let's not forget, Greg Moore has been sick almost the entire weekend. Said he was feeling fine. He was quickest in warm-up, but I don't think he was doing very well today.
Now, there is Robbie Gordon exiting the pits, and this is a huge break for him. Right, Tommy Kendall?
Yeah, Robbie, as you know, spun in turn one, got just restarted. The kart safety team, he's going to need to buy them a case of beer because they got him going out before the leaders came back around, and his first lap fuming inside that helmet was identical to the race leader, 1:05, and this break comes at the perfect time. Nothing really lost there. He comes in, he's actually enhanced things. He might be able to go on 2 more stops. The other guys probably aren't going to give up track position. He had none to give up. He can probably go on 2 more stops.
Well, that just shows you what can happen when high-speed race cars are moving very close together in the opening laps of the race. Stay with us.
Back at the Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, Ohio, a racetrack that has turned out of an airport. Now there are problems for your pole sitter, Jimmy Vasser. Vasser, as we told you in early morning final practice, had a gearbox problem. In the rush to exchange the engine, Tom Anderson, his crew chief and team manager, has just found out from Vasser that the electronics connected to the gearbox were not reinstalled properly. What this means is now Jimmy Vasser faces a race of 100 laps having to manually shift. That means rather than most of his counterparts being able to go up through the sequential gearbox without touching the clutch, each and every time that Vasser wants to change a gear, he has to engage and disengage the clutch. This creates a split second of differential between his lap times and those of people like Alex Zanardi. And Gary Gerould, that could create a problem for your points leader. But there are other stories on pit road as well.
Well, there's another concern, not only for Jimmy Vasser, but for many of the drivers who are on Firestone tires. Firestone has been dominant all season long. They've won every pole position thus far this year. They have the top 6 spots on the Cleveland qualifying grid. That sounds well and good, but Friday in practice and to some extent yesterday, they were getting a graining problem if you carried a full load of fuel for a long run on the Firestones. The teams have been working as the track got more rubber, addressing that concern because they're wondering about long-distance tire wear. Goodyear drivers, on the other hand, are saying for the first time they're getting great consistency over a full fuel load. So the Goodyear engineers and the Goodyear drivers are very happy this weekend at Cleveland. Then you throw in this other little wrinkle. This race has been lengthened by 10 extra laps. That tacks on another 20 miles or so to the race distance, and it has made it virtually a 3-stop race instead of a 2-stop race. Now, will that 3rd stop, perhaps the Goodyear guys will be getting good enough wear that they won't have to change tires. The Firestone guys will want the tires. Will that difference in time, if that happens, give one or the other an advantage? That's one of the things we're going to be watching late in the stages of this event at Cleveland.
We may be putting stopwatches on that final fuel stop, and as Gary mentioned, it may be fuel only, but that's a long way in the future. 8 laps complete. We'll be right back.
And back in Cleveland at Burke Lakefront Airport, Greg Moore back in the pits. How close a call did that turn out to be from your seat?
Well, I mean, I had 3 guys hit me, so, I mean, very, very, very close. And JJ was the biggest one, I think, that hit me. But, you know, it's unfortunate for everyone here on the Players Foresight team. You know, we were quick this morning in the warm-up, and I had a really bad start, just being a bit too timid. And then just, you know, past a couple of guys, just working up through the field. And just the car bottom went off the track a little bit, and that was it.
Happy that you're all right. Look, get upstairs. We're ready to go green, Bob.
All right, thanks very much. Tough day for Greg Moore. No points scored in the last 2 races. He was 2nd in points and remains there at this point in the championship. But Jimmy Vasser, you can be sure, has the race lead, and his crosshairs are set on Greg Moore as he hopes to climb up into 2nd behind his teammate, currently 2nd on the racetrack. 1st in the championship, Alex Zanardi. Here we go. Zanardi coming up hard on the revs, struggling to hold the car straight.
But you see Vasser get out there and get in the grass, get sideways. For sure he had to lift off. Look at this. There are no team orders here. Now can Jimmy dive up the inside now and accelerate him to the next corner? We're going to see.
With the teammates battling up front, that's Paul Tracy in third in the green and white car. Then Dario Franchitti, his teammates. So teammates in first and second and in third and fourth. Then Al Unser Jr., Michael Andretti, Mark Blundell, Brian Herta, Bobby Rahal, his teammate. Christian Fittipaldi is 10th. Gilles de Ferran 11th. Scott Pruitt 12th. Then Mauricio Gugelmin, Richie Hearn, Adrian Fernandez, Patrick Carpentier, and Max Pappas. And look at this struggle.
Slice. You had Vassar tending with Tracy. Franchitti came up and knifed by both of them.
And look at this. Jimmy's obviously having trouble changing gear, as Jack reported earlier.
Here comes Michael Andretti in the black car.
He needs to settle down and regroup. The person that got helped the most by that battle, of course, Alex Zanardi.
Closing up under braking. Fast right and left-hander. They move back the concrete wall there at turn number 10, giving the drivers better sight lines and more confidence in that right foot. Look at the lead that Alex Zanardi has opened up. Michael Andretti.
Now you hear him shift in there. He's never taking his foot off of the throttle. He just holds it down. A little electronic device in the turbocharger, and the electronics detonates the engine just for a millisecond, slows it down. That keeps the turbo boost up. What Jimmy Vassar's having to do, put the clutch in, shift with the sequential straight back. But the turbo slows down, and he has to spool it back up. He loses quite a bit of ground.
We learned in qualifying that tenths, even hundredths of a second per lap are critical around Cleveland. It is so fast, there are so many lines, the slightest mistake, and you've dropped a couple of car lengths.
Alex Zanardi was really Johnny on the spot there. You saw he was really close. Jimmy tried to go straight out of weaving, warming his tires. They're always trying to trick the guy behind him. He did it straight out of the weave. Alex was on him. Alex got big time crossed up, but Jimmy put the right rear in the grass, like Danny said, and was able to get by him. The shifting probably contributed, but the cold tires was at least as much of it.
Michael Andretti, running back there in 5th place, has lost the title of lap leader for the CART FedEx Championship Series this year. That happened at Portland, where Alex Zanardi won the race and passed Michael in the lap leader standings by 2. Right now, Zanardi is piling up laps led. Michael would just be happy to get a victory. He hasn't had one since the season opener. Zanardi, meanwhile, is leading his 8th race in the 10 run to this point in the season. That includes today's event. He has been simply dominating, and the rest of the motorsports world has noted that. Rumors swirl that Alex Zanardi can write his ticket in any open-wheeled series in the world, and that includes Formula One. Battle for 4th, Vassar in red, Michael Andretti in black, Al Unser Jr. having a great run for Roger Penske. The familiar red and white of Marlboro, still looking for the captain's 100th career win. His best finish this year, as you see, 2nd place at the Budweiser 500 at the Twin Ring Motegi Circuit in Japan.
This is by far the raciest we've seen Al Unser Jr. on a road course this year. He was competitive in Japan, but he hasn't even been in the hunt virtually, other than sometimes on pit strategy. Here, yesterday, he was in the slow group qualifying, made a big leap forward. Don't exactly know what they found in the car, but much, much happier. He's also one of the Goodyear runners that we noted that looks to be better on longer runs, but he's in a perfect spot. It used to be Al Jr. in the top 6 early on. He was going to be figured for the win before the day was over.
Tommy, I like Al Jr. and Michael's chances for a good, strong finish here. If nothing goes wrong, I like Michael's a little better because I think his car is more reliable. The Penske suffered quite a bit through gearbox woes this year, but I like them because they're on Goodyear tires. These guys have won here. They know how to do it, and you've got to drive hard every lap of this race.
Now, Danny, with the tire situation, if you're a Firestone guy and you know you've got some graining, are you going to run the pace hard and hope to build up a gap, or are you going to try and just let the tires do what they will, or are you going to try to really baby it, run as hard as you have to, maybe even give up a few spots? What do you do?
If I'm the Goodyear guy, I want to run this thing as hard as I can, not worrying about babying it, and try to push the Firestone runners to have to run that hard, because I think it'll force their tires to grain.
You ride with Gilles de Ferran off of turn number 8, up through the gearbox, revving that Honda turbocharged 2.65 liter V8. That's Brian Herta just ahead of him. There's the gap. Herta on the left. Herta qualified well. Currently back there in ninth.
There's another one that we got to look for is Jules de Ferran. He's gone so well here in the years past. Has won this race. Very tough driver. Derek Walker, very smart in the pits, and he's Goodyear shod.
De Ferran had a shot at a podium 3 weeks ago at Portland International Raceway, but he and Herta got together in the Festival Curves. Herta continued on. Scott Pruitt got by Herta to take second place. Herta was third, and De Ferran's race was over. A bitter pill for Derek Walker and the Valvoline team.
I wonder what's going on with Brian Herta here. He lost a few spots on the start, but he's also been slipping back under green. So he's one of the Firestone guys. It'd be interesting to find out if there's something going on other than the tires. Does he have a problem? Is he running flat out, or is he trying to baby things?
Checking the speeds at the line. The arrowheads to the right tell you who's got the fast lap, and last time around it was Michael Andretti at 126.244 miles an hour. That's about 8 miles an hour off of the average speed for Jimmy Vasser's fast qualifying lap. So these guys are flying. A sun-drenched day here at Burke Lakefront Airport as you go on board with Michael Andretti. Let's get more on the tire situation from Jack Arute.
Well, Bob, we talk about graining. Let's show you what a tire should normally look like under race conditions. See this way, this is just a little bit of debris. But when you have a graining problem, here's exactly what will happen to a tire. These are a set of tires that came off after an extended practice session. The drivers have brought them out here. They've had to make major chassis adjustments to try and compensate for this graining problem. The question mark remains, how long can you go with the right chassis setup before this occurs again? That's where sometimes maybe 3 stops versus 2 stops might help.
Another good way to explain graining is almost like something's going on at the contact patch, and it looks like someone has taken a cheese grater. And when you're running in the car, you can actually see that in the rearview mirror. A lot of the guys, I know Vasser, you can watch and you can see a graining pattern in your mirror. So not only do you feel it, you can see the rubber just being peeled off. And needless to say, that is not a good thing.
The running order is Zanardi, Tracy, Franchitti, and then this battle, Vasser, Unser Jr., and Michael Andretti. Vasser on the right, Unser on the left. There comes Michael getting a bit of dust in the air down there in turn 7.
Hey, Bob, Vasser is going to have to soldier on his problem, why he is being passed. As we alluded to, the manual shifting situation. The problem gets exacerbated when he's in race traffic. According to Tom Anderson, having to depress the clutch, Danny Sullivan, requires so much more time that these guys are just eating his lunch in the corners. Are you seeing it up there?
Down into one they go. Unser Jr. takes a shot, or well, at least a look down the inside of Vasser in one. And there's Michael just behind. Those two have swapped positions already a couple of times. Unser Jr. getting Andretti, Andretti getting Unser Jr. back. Now Unser Jr.'s in the lead. The 2 winningest active drivers in the series. 37 victories for Michael, 31 laurels for Al Unser Jr.
You saw a little out there. He just made a real bold move out into the mirror, but he really wasn't trying. Didn't look like he was really trying to go by. If he can get Vasser to take a look and leave an extra lane, he can go through. That's a way of kind of hedging your bets. The braking zones are getting so short in these cars. No one wants to make a move unless they're sure of it. And if you go that extra 2 or 3 car lengths deeper, you're committed, and sometimes there's no way out. So sometimes you'll just pop out, show him the nose, hope you can kind of bluff him off the line. We'll see what happens this time by. He definitely closed up before the brake zone, but wasn't much better under braking.
And that bright blue and red car that you see at the back. Oh, and look at that move, Al Jr. He was setting him up the time before. Tommy made a great move down there. Now can he hold on? Jimmy's going to try to come back at him.
And Danny, the question that I pose to you is, you know, if we can monitor the radios and know that there's a problem with Jimmy Vasser, wouldn't you think that most of the other teams know it as well, and you can use that to your advantage when you're trying to set him up for a pass?
You can, Jack, but the thing that I've always learned on the track, it's great that they have that information, but it depends on what the guy's doing in the car. And everybody keeps telling me sometimes the guy's slowing or he's got a problem, but it sure isn't relevant when you're right behind him.
A battle of the champions here. Unser Jr., Jimmy Vasser, Michael Andretti, and 3 different combinations. Unser Jr. in the Penske Mercedes, Vasser in the Reynard Honda, Michael Andretti in the Swift Ford. And Mark Blundell coming into view in the number 7 spot behind Andretti. As Unser Jr. has opened up a quick gap on Jimmy Vasser in 5th. Michael Andretti in 6th. And Mark Blundell in 7th. There's Dario Franchitti. Unser comes up underneath. Oh, that was close.
That was very close. Good spot to try to pass, but Franchitti wasn't having any of it there.
You know what these guys, what Al Jr. is doing, the width of these runways, and it opens up a new driving possibility. I read about it. John Watson did it in F1 on some street courses. What they do is they turn in early and they aim straight for the apex and they brake on a diagonal. It really slows down their corner speed, but it gives them position, and then they just park it at the apex and then get by. You see Michael got around, same sort of thing. They're so wide going into the corner, the optimum line for speed is arcing it in gently. But sometimes you just stuff it in there, get the thing stopped. The guy has no choice but to yield.
And Tommy, one thing they do is when they go through, they don't care about the corner. They just dive down in it. They just park it in the corner, get it turned, and then accelerate off and block the guy in the middle of the corner.
Jimmy Vasser's problems aren't over. There is Mark Blundell, and behind him, that bright yellow helmet is Christian Fittipaldi, who started in 13th place, is now up to 8th. We'll take a break and return for more from Cleveland. Welcome back to Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, Ohio. Round 10 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Al Unser Jr. goes underneath Dario Franchitti, but the young Scot will have none of it. The Series of Champions, the Kart FedEx Championship Series, the drivers in this field have won 84 separate titles in one formula or another. And right now, you're watching one of the newest stars of the series, Dario Franchitti, in the Team Cool Green car, battling one of the old warriors, Al Unser Jr., driving for Roger Penske. How many times in open-wheeled racing here in America have we heard a line like that? Unser in the Penske car, battling for position. Let's get down to Gary Gerould.
Let's update the situation for Barry Green's Cool team. His drivers, Paul Tracy second, Dario Franchitti third. I was just asking Barry moments ago, will you or could you possibly do this as a two-stop race with the yellows? He said, no, we want the third stop because we need to change those tires. They're the Firestone runners. Let's go to Jack.
Well, Al Unser Jr. just accomplished the pass around Dario Franchitti, and it was at the advice of Roger Penske. Penske at first told him, don't bother to pass, you're going to pit in about 4 laps. But now a yellow has come out on the racetrack for Patrick Carpentier. They are going to go to a full course yellow. Everybody will come on to pit road for the first round of service.
And the reason is not just Carpentier, it is also Mauricio Gugelmin, who spun off the track and has come to a stop directly across from the pits. We also have Dennis Vitolo down in turn 10, sideways and almost squarely on the racing line.
Now, he had been out there because the battle for third place had gone through. Al Unser Jr. and Franchitti. Vitolo had already spun. They passed him. I think what happened is everybody came out there and was surprised by it.
Down to Jackaroo.
A pit stop, as you can hear, going underway for your leader, Alex Zanardi. See the way he's kept the revs up? Out front. Adjustment on the nose. On the rev limiter. As he exits, Brian Herman comes in, Gary.
And the cool cars are right behind him, but it's mayhem here. Tracy, big burnout. Oh, he came within inches of hitting his teammate, but Tracy got out.
Al Jr. He is connected with Al Unser Jr. at the end of pit road. Paul Tracy, his former teammate, just put Al Unser Jr. out into the grass. Unser Jr. tried to gather it back in and has wedged himself up against the wall, facing the wrong way.
This is unbelievable. They were going out there side by side, just hooked him and spun him right around. Let's not forget that Paul Tracy is on probation and has been fined. No telling what this will mean or whether they say it's his fault.
Let's take another look at it, Danny.
See him come out. Paul Tracy's very wide. He's powering out right there. Al Unser Jr. is trying to go around him. Paul Tracy gets sideways, hooks him, puts it around. That looks like Paul Tracy there. He was behind him. He had to lift.
Danny, when he left the pits down here, and I don't know how much you could see it, we were at the back of the car. Tracy just floored it, left huge black marks, and as the car started to slide, he came so close to nipping Franchitti and then got out into the pit line with all that other traffic.
That action taking place on lap 26 of 100. And the PPG pace car, the Pontiac Grand Prix, is back out once again. Margie Ewell from Phoenix, Arizona, and the PPG pace car team behind the wheel today. Jack Arute.
Well, Bob, let's show you. You can see the big, thick, black marks way outside of the passing area for Al Unser Jr., who was literally just brought out right to the grass. They came to the end, wedged up against the wall here, down where those two blue and white cones are. That's the blend line. What happened after that? I can't believe that Al Unser Jr. had the composure to stay in the car. The FedEx Kart officials jump-started him. He did a 180 right in front of me and is back out in the race. Now Roger Penske is lobbying for some sort of penalty for Paul Tracy.
Well, that you would have to say that's probably warranted, because what you have, even though they have a pit lane speed limit, they still race up to that speed limit and to the blend line for position. So you've got guys saying, how can they do that? But the rule also is, until you're up to speed, you need to leave a lane on the outside. The middle portion of the track is supposed to be for getting up to speed. The guys who are up to speed are on the outside, clear sailing.
Well, once they get to that blend line that Jack mentioned, positions are in cement until you get back onto the racing line. Right now, we'll take a break. We are under yellow here at Burke Lakefront Airport. We'll be right back.
We've been watching Al Unser Jr. with one of his most spirited drives in some time, and now he has to start all over again. Roger Penske, I know you're not happy about this incident.
Well, when I looked at it on the monitor, we were clearly by Tracy at least a half a car length. He turned right into Al, which there's no excuse for that. It's unfortunate. We're having a good day, but we got a long way to go, so we got to keep going here.
So what do you do at this point? Have you appealed to officials for any kind of punitive action?
We asked the officials to take a look at it and see where we are.
And what are you telling Al? Because I know he's not happy on that radio.
Tell Al to stay cool. We got a long way to go.
How about the tires?
Tires look good.
Yeah, he's putting a positive spin on a situation right now that is not nearly as positive, I think, as Roger's making it sound.
The safety car is now off. Jim Swintel waves the green flag. We are back underway on lap number 29. Here comes Michael Andretti up the inside of Paul Tracy for third. Now that Penske in red and white you see running behind Alex Zanardi on the race lead is Andre Ribeiro, who pitted twice very early in this race. There he is with the yellow helmet. He pitted on laps 7 and 10. He did not pit with the group the last time by. He has track position in second behind Zanardi, but he is off of any kind of pit schedule relative to the race leaders. Michael Andretti now moving up on Ribeiro. The order is Zanardi, Ribeiro, Andretti, Tracy, Franchitti, Fittipaldi, DeFerrin, Mark Blundell, Jimmy Vasser, Brian Herta.
He's got to get by Andre Ribeiro very quickly here so that Zanardi cannot build up a cushion and start nursing his tires. He needs it at least by turn 1, turn 2 at the latest of this lap.
Zanardi came into the pit stop in first, went out in first. Tracy came in second, came out third. Michael Andretti came in fifth, went out in fourth. Dario Franchitti came in third, went out in fifth. And Gilles DeFerrin, Derek Walker's crew, got him out. He came in 10th, went out in 6th. Great pit stop.
Michael lost a lot of ground there, charged in. Ribeiro was slow in the middle of the corner, and look how he's pulled away.
There is a beautiful overhead view of the Ribeiro-Andretti fight from the Goodyear blimp. For more than 70 years, grown-ups and kids alike have watched the Goodyear blimps hovering over spectacular events like the one we have here today. If you'd like to learn more about the Goodyear blimps, you can find them on the internet at www.goodyear.com, or let your kids do it. They know how.
I think we have a situation here where maybe the Goodyear, you saw Michael get by Franchitti on that restart, but also ran a lap as quick as Zanardi on the same lap, even though he had to pass Franchitti twice. So the Goodyears might come up to temp a little bit quicker as well. Now Ribeiro is on Goodyears that have a heat cycle on him. He stayed out that time. His seem to be coming up as well also. He's right there, even though he's was out of sequence with the leaders. Lighter fuel load as well for him.
Tommy, it also might be that the Firestones, they were finding they were using those tires up. Zanardi knows he can't push it as hard right now because if he doesn't get another yellow, he won't have a good tire under him at the end of his fuel load.
10-4, but he's going to want some breathing room before he starts scaling it back. So I would have to imagine the first 2 or 3 laps, he's giving it everything he's got. So right now, you know, he's got maybe 3 or 4 car lengths, but I would have to think initially he's going to want to establish a little bit of a gap.
There's a good look at Andre Ribeiro in his first year with the Penske team. I don't know if this was mentioned already, Danny, but I think during Zanardi's pit stop, looked like he put scuffed tires on.
Well, they would have gone out on their tires and scuffed them and put what they call a heat cycle on them. Just brought them up to temperature, taken them in, let them cure overnight. That hardens them a little bit and let them breathe, and then they'll come back and they'll have a lot more life than just putting a brand new set of tires on.
Here comes a fight. That is Paul Tracy with Christian Fittipaldi and then Gilles de Ferran.
Let's not forget that both those guys are on Goodyear tires as well.
There's the view from the nose of de Ferran's Valvoline, Cummins, Reynard, Honda Power, Goodyear tires. World Cup Finals coming up later on ABC Sports. Gilles de Ferran knows exactly where he stands on that battle. He has a special design on his helmet honoring the Brazilian team. Great view off the nose of that car as they come up through the gearbox, listening to the RPM climb. 900 horsepower at work in the hands of each of these guys. Back on front, Alex Zanardi with Andre Ribeiro right there. And like Unser before him, Ribeiro going well in the Penske Mercedes.
Yes, and this is one of the best things that could be happening for Michael Andretti, because Andre Ribeiro is pushing Zanardi, and Zanardi does not want to give up that position. So he'll be using his tires a little bit harder and his fuel. Michael can sit back there, stay in touch, and as those tires go off, hopefully close the gap late in the fuel run.
And Danny, one of the great things about Alex Zanardi having made that pit stop, they were able to examine those Firestone tires. The concern about the graining, well, they've thrown that by the boards. After examining those tires, they feel like whether it's the hotter temperatures today or what, they didn't see any evidence of graining, and they've given Zanardi the green light to go out there and abuse them.
And nobody abuses a set of tires like Alex Zanardi. He is magic to watch. And we'll have more of this kind of action coming up next week. Our next stop will be the CART Molson Indy. You'll see it on ABC Sports next Sunday. A temporary street circuit in one of North America's most spectacular cities, Toronto, Canada. Be sure to join us for that. Alex Zanardi out front, both here and in the championship. No matter what happens today, Zanardi will be the leader in the run for the PPG Cup and the $1 million bonus that goes with it. And he has been enormously consistent. 62 of his points have come on road courses, 72 of them on oval tracks, and he has already scored more points than he did 2 years ago when he was third in the PPG Cup standings at the end of the year.
And to reset this, now Ribeiro stopped on twice on that first caution. Now, you might say, well, he's out of sequence, he's not a factor. Well, both of these guys have 2 more stops. The difference is Zanardi's last one should be a short one, more of a splash and go, whereas Ribeiro is going to have a little bit longer stop. But you can't discount him saying, well, he's out of sequence. He really isn't running second. He's running a legitimate second spot. He's got a lighter fuel load right now and is going to have a little bit longer stop for fuel. But these guys are racing for the lead.
They topped him off, Tommy, on lap number 10. He's actually made 2 early pit stops, 1 more than everybody else. So it's all the more amazing that he finds himself in this second position. But if you can get 30 laps under green, that means here that he's going to be coming up very shortly toward his next pit stop. That'll be his 3rd of the day.
Gary, that is absolutely true, and he's going to have to make probably a green flag stop. But if they get another yellow and he goes in, he's in the catbird seat, which is exactly the strategy that they're trying to play.
Everyone's assumed this is a 2-stop plus a splash at the end, but I talked to one of the Honda engineers this morning. Bottolo pulls off. That's probably a welcome sign to some of the other drivers. I don't quite understand that because he's still going. That doesn't make any sense to me. He pulled off and now he's going again, but he just cut off about 50 feet of track.
Well, he will not get credit for a lap if he takes the cutoff, but his problems may be larger than that, mechanically speaking. There is Alex Zanardi now drawing away from Andre Ribeiro. Michael Andretti 3rd, Paul Tracy 4th, Christian Fittipaldi in 5th. Paul may not want to get out of that car at the end of the day, however. Welcome back to Burke Lakefront Airport. There is Paul Tracy, currently shown in the number 4 spot, but not for long. The black flag has gone up with his number on it, number 26. He will be stopped in the pits for 10 seconds for a move with unjustifiable risk in the pit lane. Of course, we're talking about that collision with Al Unser Jr.
The big question for me is, does that mean that that's the total penalty he's going to get for that? or will they take bigger action after this event is over and do what Wally said and actually make him sit out for a couple of events?
Paul's wife Lisa is in the hospital in Nevada, where they now live. We hope she's watching and recovering quickly. There is the black flag going out for Tracy. He's got Christian Fittipaldi just behind him in 5th, then Gilles Defert in 6th, Dario Franchitti 7th, Ryan Hurta 8th, Scott Pruitt 9th, and Mark Blundell in 10th. It has been a rough start, the first half of the 1998 Kart FedEx Championship Series for Paul Tracy, coming to grips with a new team, a new car, engine, and tire combination. He has been on probation, he has been fined, he has been suspended, and the results have been few and far between. Down to Jack Arute on the front straight.
Well, Bob, we've taken up a position at the entrance to pit road. It's down the short chute. You can hear the cars screaming by us. We're waiting to see if Paul Tracy will acknowledge the black flag. He's coming out first car. We'll see if he goes left or right to the orange cones. If he goes over my shoulder, yes, he's in at over 100 miles an hour. Now let the downshift and slow it down to 65. Back to you.
And he will be at 60 in the pit lane, the season-long pit lane speed limit for any session. A card official awaits him. And the team can do no work on the car whatsoever. Billy Camphausen from Kart on the stopwatch. Paul Tracy's head moving. I believe he's talking, pleading his case.
You don't realize how long 10 seconds is until you have to sit in a pit and the race is going on. 10 seconds is an eternity.
And now this man, Andre Ribeiro, remember, he is very close on fuel. Will he make a green flag stop? Yes, he will. He pits from 2nd place on lap 43. Gary Gerould awaits him.
We watch with the team. Remember now, we said he's already made 2 early stops. This puts him out of sequence. The Penske team in action, looking to see if there'll be any changes on the handling. He had been hounding the leader Zanardi relentlessly. Looked very strong. No changes, just new good gears and fuel. And Andre Ribeiro is on the road in just under 14 seconds.
We'll see where he slots himself back in. Michael Andretti moves up to 2nd with Ribeiro's pit stop. Christian Fittipaldi, Michael's teammate, is now 3rd, followed by Defert and Franchitti, the top 5. As Ribeiro blends in just behind Robbie Gordon and immediately on the hammer to go by.
Well, this is unique in that way because you've got a run coming out of pit lane there of a straightaway, so you're already up to speed and there's nothing the guy going on the racetrack can do about it.
Ribeiro back on unofficially in 15th place. We'll have to check that.
Robbie Gordon making a pass back. Let's not forget Andre Ribeiro's tires there are not up to temperature and he's on a full fuel load. Robbie Gordon will have hot tires and a light fuel load.
Well, ooh, and that's a good example of what can happen on those cold tires. We'll take a quick break. Alex Zanardi out front. This race going down at a furious pace. Stay with us. It's like taking BP with the Indians. Feeding the fishies at SeaWorld. That's Richie Hearn. Bernie Kosar stopped by to provide new jerseys for Alex Ribeiro on the left and Al Unser Jr. on the right. The Browns, of course, will be back. And the drivers took time out for Kart's Nations Cup soccer tournament. Here's Elio Castro Neves, decked out in Brazilian regalia. And last night, Al Unser Jr. presented rock legend John Fogerty with an autographed helmet, got an autographed guitar in return. The life of a racing driver. Here's Richie Hearn. He's been busy over at SeaWorld. He threw out the first pitch on Friday at the Cleveland Indians Minnesota Twins game. And right now, he runs back in 13th spot for John Della Penna, and apparently his engine is not running completely healthy.
Richie Hearn continues to have one of the problems that a temporary road course presents to drivers. You can never test here. And if you recall, Hearn made his first appearance last year here at Cleveland and only ran about 15 laps. Now he's trying to build his black book so he can compete against the likes of an Andretti, an Unser, or fellas that have run here year in and year out. He said it's created a situation for him and his team that throughout the course of this race, all they want to do is complete the entire 100-lap distance.
listening for Hearns radio in the pit.
What is it, the valve? Oh, stay in there.
30th career start for Richie Hearn. Right now you see him shaking his head, pounding the wheel. A second-generation racer. Not only his father Richard raced, also Richie's mother Christy raced, including racing a Corvette when she was pregnant with little Richie. He said she raced the car until she got too big to fit under the belts. So Richie has been doing this longer than he's been in this world. On board with Bobby Rahal, running in 9th place, just ahead of Al Unser Jr., just behind Mark Blundell. In his 17th and final appearance here at Burke Lakefront Airport, Bobby, the only driver in the field to have competed in every edition of the Grand Prix of Cleveland, and he won the very first one back in 1982. Now let's learn more about the Paul Tracy situation with his team owner. Here's Gary Gerould.
Barry Green, your reaction to the disciplinary action on that black flag for Paul Tracy?
Well, very disappointed, Gary. I mean, everyone's got the same responsibility in the pit lane. There's hundreds of cars around. Al Jr. should get the same penalty if there's a penalty. Al Jr.'s responsibility is to back up as well. You know, these chief stewards, I don't know where they're going. They need to free focus on what this is all about. There's cars all around him. Paul did a great job. Needs to be 2 penalties if there's any penalty.
Is there any recourse for you in the course of this race now?
We've just got to stay focused here. We're still in the race. We'll get a yellow. We'll get back up there. We've got Dario up there doing real well. So we just got to get focused, get back to business.
Guys, I don't know that I have ever seen that much emotion in the heat of one of these competitions from Barry Green.
He has one of the most engaging smiles and banters in the pit lane. Boy, he can produce a scowl as well. Very hot Barry Green, Paul Tracy's car owner. You're watching Bobby Rahal.
I'm not sure I can agree with Barry Green. Al Jr. was out of road and the road necked back down, and he had to do what he did. He was giving Paul as much room as he could, and that's one of those things where I think that more of the blame rightfully falls on Paul Tracy's shoulders.
Tom, I agree with you. I think that Barry probably didn't have the exact right angle that he wanted to look at there. It's a very wide pit lane here. There's plenty of room. Paul wants to stand on the gas and get back out there, but he's got to be respectful of the other people. He's racing with them there, and he could be in the same situation.
Great fight going on right here. Herta, Pruitt, Blundell, Rahal, Unser, 6th through 10th, covered by well under 2 seconds. A look back from the Visteon car for Scott Pruitt. It's Mark Blundell behind. Boy, Blundell needs championship points. He and the Pac West team like they need oxygen. A terrible first half, but they qualified well up in the top 10 here in Cleveland. And they are looking for some results. Well, we said for Scott Pruitt at Patrick Racing, coming off his best performance of the year, 2nd place at Portland International Raceway 3 weeks ago.
These low-level shots give you a good view. Whenever you see that white paint, that's paint that's put down for the runways to mark for the airplanes and so forth. But when you get onto those some of those white lines are 10 feet wide. And when your car gets on that, it just drifts. It switches lanes. So hopefully it's balanced and the front sliding as much as the back. But it's like when you hit ice in your road car and the car just sidesteps a lane.
This is an airport the rest of the year. In fact, I think it's an airport again before this day is out. Is that not true, Danny Sullivan?
That is true, and some of the guys actually have their planes parked here and will wait until it opens up and take off and go home after that. Tommy, one of the other things that happens during the course of this race is that the dirt gets thrown out on the track and makes it doubly slick in those apex corners, and of course typically there's a bump right in the middle of them, which makes it even worse.
Great view from our Honda Helicam as they get down on those painted sections. Exiting 24 right. Short taxiway. See the rubber laid down by the cars. Look at the marbles scattered in the foreground.
Now this has really stalled Al Jr.'s charge. When he's in clear track, he is the fastest car on the racetrack, up to 4/10 quicker than Alex Zanardi. But when he gets in a pack of other cars that are running well, both the aerodynamics and the fact that they're only a few tenths slower, he's not able to go anywhere. And so this is bad news for him as Alex Zanardi streaks away in open air.
Tommy, one other thing that happens too, and as you know, because I'm sure you've come from the back in your career, it's very easy to make a lot of headway with the guys back in 15th, 16th, 14th spot. But when you get up to guys that are running strong in 10th, 9th, 8th, it makes it very difficult to make those same maneuvers on these guys.
Alonso Jr. in 10th place. Normally, a wide racetrack is 40 to 60 feet. The runways here at Burke Lakefront Airport, 150 feet wide. Lots of room to maneuver. There's your top 12. We'll take a break and return for more of the Hart Grand Prix of Cleveland. Back live at the Grand Prix of Cleveland, you ride with Gilles de Ferran. Moments ago, he was a participant in what may be a key moment of this race. There is de Ferran entering the pits slowly out of fuel.
But look what happens back here. Alonso Jr. is coming down. He's blocked. He's losing time. He can't do anything about it. Come on, Gilles, get out of the way. Has to go around him, accelerate. Lost a lot of time for those guys out on the track.
A dead stick landing here at Burke Lakefront Airport for Gilles de Ferran, who's back out on the track. Michael Andretti coming in from second on lap number 58.
And Bob, we watch now as they wave, and here comes Michael beautifully in on that spot. The Newman Haas team, they've been dogged by so much misfortune after winning that season opener, and revved way up from Andretti. 12.2 seconds.
Michael Andretti has found so many bizarre ways to lose races this year. He won the season opener at Homestead, Florida, then ran out of fuel while leading in Japan, crashed at Long Beach. It's been one thing after another for the Newman Haas team, but they keep coming back. He puts a move right there on Tony Kanaan, the rookie points leader, as he rockets off the pit exit back into the fray. Michael says, we will not give up until we are eliminated. Now Kanaan on the hot tires has the grip to accelerate back past Michael Andretti, as we saw earlier with another pair of drivers.
And guys, the problems with Jimmy Vasser continue. On that pit stop that he just came in, he had a problem with the fuel nozzle. It took an extra 20 to 30 seconds to take on a full load of fuel, Gary.
And now it's Christian Fittipaldi coming in on the next lap. Staggered stops for the Newman Haas team, the teammate to Michael Andretti. Boy, he's never backed off the throttle. You can hear how high the revs are right now, racing that engine, the Cosworth Power. Now the clear sign to go. 13.4 for Christian Fittipaldi.
And Gary, those are the marks that have now been set for your leader, Alex Zanardi, and his target team, Ganassi team. The pit was waiting here, resolved to try and do better, not only than their teammate, but also the Andretti, Newman Haas team, and Fittipaldi.
Now it'll
they don't want to make any changes this time. In fact, Alex just radioed in and said, keep everything the way it is. Let's watch, let's listen, and watch the ballet in motion. Seconds, ladies and gentlemen, that is near perfection.
But now it's up to Zanardi. Let's see what kind of an outlap he can produce on cold tires. There is Christian Fittipaldi. And this is Michael Andretti, the man Alex Zanardi will try to beat back onto the racetrack. And Zanardi is already all the way down the back straight. Zanardi flashed back out and did the job. He did not lose the race lead during that pit stop on lap 58. Check that, make it 59 laps now complete of 100 schedule.
And Bob, the quick math tells us with all these guys making these stops and everybody's getting right around 30 laps per fuel run, that means with about 10 laps to go, we're going to have high drama as we get ready for a shootout to the checkered here in Cleveland.
And as I suggested earlier, they will be timed pit stops, time to get just the right amount of fuel into the car. That will be something to watch. Andretti through turns 9 and 10. Back hard on the power. Across the runways he comes, headed for turn 1. 60 laps now complete here at the Grand Prix of Cleveland. We'll be back. Stay with us. back at Cleveland. Our second Toyota Spotlight of the day brings you up to date. At the very start of the race, we expected action in turn 1, and we got it. 2 separate spins. Robbie Gordon on the left, Tony Kanaan on the right. They both got back in. It was much more serious on lap 4 when Greg Moore spun and was clouded by Michel Jourdain, Helio Castroneves, and then J.J. Leto in quick order. All 4 drivers out of the race. On the restart, Alex Zanardi dove underneath his teammate and race leader Jimmy Vasser to take over the point, which he now holds. During the first round of regular pit stops, Al Unser Jr. and Paul Tracy had this coming together. Tracy subsequently had a 10-second stop and go in the pits. That is our Toyota Spotlight number 2. You ride with Alex Zanardi. Jack Arute.
Well, you know, the biggest news for Alex Zanardi this weekend was the announcement, actually it initiated over in London, England, that Alex Zanardi had signed a 2-year contract for at least 12 to maybe $14 million to drive for Frank Williams in 1999 and the year 2000. Earlier today, guys, I asked Alex Zanardi, point blank, I said, have you talked to Frank Williams and the Williams Formula One team? He said yes. I asked him if he had signed a contract as of today. He denied that, saying no. I asked him if the right amount of money was offered, would he go? And this is where Alex Zanardi began to define his position. He said it's extremely important at this point in his career that he begin to consider all aspects of driving. And the thing that I found very interesting was it wasn't, as he said, about the money as much as about what it takes and the injury potential in running oval races, Danny Sullivan. But I'll tell you, my impression from listening to all of this with Alex Zanardi is this boy is gone in 1999. What do you think?
Jack, I would agree with you. He would look like he's poised to win his 2nd kart championship. There is no Indianapolis 500 for him, so that carrot is not out there for him to win. He's got to think about Europe. He's European. He's raced Lotus Formula One before. He'd probably like to go back home. The injury factor is always there on an oval track. We've also got the factor that he's being courted not only by Frank Williams, but I heard Chip Ganassi say by his engine manufacturer, Honda, who is poised to start their own team in 1999. Tommy?
Well, Danny, I mean, every time you ask him, he hemmed and hawed. He never really said anything. He finally flat out denied that he had signed. My source two weeks ago said he's gone, he's signed, and it is not Ferrari. Now we hear Williams. That makes a lot of sense. Williams, obviously, there's going to be at least one opening there, if not 2. It's all going to be pure speculation. You're not going to get confirmation until it's over and it's out in the public. But if I was a betting man, I'd probably put a pretty large one on Alex Zanardi going to Williams. Gary?
Well, I would throw in one footnote that maybe puts a little perspective on the money we're talking about. One of the members of the Chip Ganassi racing team who was closely involved in all of their undertakings, in a conversation I had with him, said, consider the money that they are offering him is our entire racing budget for an entire season for 2 cars. I think that gives you an idea of what kind of incentive is coming from across the pond for Alex Zanardi.
Well, these are all good points. I would be unspeakably sad not to have Alex Zanardi in the series next year, but he does have to think about himself and his family. Keep in mind, he and his wife Daniela are expecting their first child later this fall, and that alone, I can tell you, is enough to distract him from the job at hand of winning the PPG Cup and that $1 million. But whatever happens, we all wish Alex Zanardi well. He has been great fun to watch. We've got a handful of races still to come. On the grass, Andre Ribeiro has spun.
Ribeiro's been struggling there. One time earlier from my vantage point, I could see almost the whole track. He cleaned off his whole right front wing, had to stop for a new nose, and is off again. Now with Al Unser Jr. running so strongly, and Ribeiro early on challenging Zanardi, that's a little bit surprising.
Tommy, though, we have seen him through the course of the weekend. He had 2 offs in the same spot out on the back during practice. He's obviously doesn't have the balance that he needs in that car.
He's 86th, another front wing. He's going to be in the, well, he's going to have to come in again because the second element's flapping.
Not only that, he 86, part of it right past you, but it's laying out there on the track, and that's carbon fiber. You've got to be very careful to run over that and not pick up a puncture.
Oops, as someone just did.
Christian just ran right over it.
Christian Fittipaldi. Maybe it went under the car and not under his Goodyear tires. As you watch Ribeiro limping around, he was shown back in 17th place with 4 pit stops completed, and he's got another one in his very near future. Now, because of that debris, will we get a full course yellow? Yes, we do. We are under a full course caution. Ribeiro will head for the pits, and Alex Zanardi is there as well, down to the pit lane.
Well, Alex Zanardi is going to take advantage of this full course yellow to come onto pit road, and he hits the marks almost exactly. Now the crew will go to work, and the telltale signal will be, will there be any adjustments to the car? We see none. 8.9 seconds to take on enough fuel for what should be the final stop of the day, guys.
32 laps to go, and Christian Fittipaldi assumes the race lead. There is Andre Ribeiro in the Penske pit.
Let's not forget he'll get a couple laps under yellow, so that'll conserve him some more fuel, so he'll be able to run it fairly strong. The reason it was an 8.9 stop, he had just stopped recently. That's all the car would take. They filled it up to be sure.
Well, you know, guys, I think that also says that the concern about the Firestone tires has gone away. Because if you're going to go 32 laps, you're going to abuse those tires. Maybe not as much if you're trying to chase down the leader, but for Alex Zanardi, he's going to have to get a full cycle out of his Firestones out in front.
Jack, but they don't have any choice. They've got to fill it up right now, go with those set of tires right there like everybody else is going to do, and gamble that they've got enough handling to hold them all the way till the end.
See many of the top cars pitting. Safety car back on the track to pick up the race leader, Christian Fittipaldi. We'll take a break and return to Cleveland in a moment. Here's a look at the entire field as we remain under caution here at Burke Lakefront Airport. Christian Fittipaldi out front. Alex Zanardi, who has led much of this race, is now in second. Michael Andretti third. Dario Franchitti fourth. Scott Pruitt up to fifth. Al Unser Jr. holding station in sixth. There you see the rest of the field, including those four cars who went out on a huge accident on lap 4. Moore, Jourdain, Castro Neves, and Leto. A gorgeous view from one of America's most enduring corporate images, representing Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, just up Lake Erie in Akron, Ohio. The Goodyear blimp Spirit of Akron celebrates Goodyear's 100th year in business. To Jack Arute.
Bob, let's take a look at the sets of tires coming off of Alex Zanardi's car. Set 1, no graining. Set 2, no graining. The last set in that 8.9 second stop, no graining here either. The last radio transmission from Chip Ganassi to second place runner Alex Zanardi is, your tires are good, you've got a green light for the rest of the race, and by the way, don't worry about Christian Fittipaldi. We figure he's got to go 42 laps because he didn't come in just yet, Gary.
Well, they're saying for Christian Fittipaldi that if he can get 1.9 miles per gallon the rest of the way, that's slightly over the 1.85 that you're required to get, that he may be able to make it without a final stop. That's the Christian Fittipaldi situation. For his teammate, Michael Andretti, I just asked Ed Nathman, I said, now, do you have enough fuel to go the distance? And he said, frankly, we are just outside the window, but that's the risk you have to take. So they feel that somewhat they're rolling the dice. Seems to be a contrast of stories here between first and second with now about 30 laps to go.
Well, that's interesting because Ganassi has assured Zanardi that he doesn't have to push Fittipaldi at all because he'll have to come onto pit road and inherit the lead for Team Target.
Thank you, gentlemen. If Alex Zanardi can get back on the lead and lead 21 more laps, he will take over 5th place on Cleveland's all-time lap leader list from Danny Sullivan. How's that feel, partner?
Well, it feels like I'm losing a little something there.
Zanardi has been bulletproof. 2 starts here at Cleveland, a 2nd place and a 1st.
I'm not sure there's not a little bluffing going on down in the Newman Hospice. I don't see any way that Christian Fittipaldi can make it. 30 laps is a long run. But one thing to watch, Michael Andretti is, he was separated by Richie Hearn from Alex Zanardi, but the Goodyears have been coming up to temp a hair quicker. And right before that yellow, we missed it, but Michael was taking chunks out of Alex's lead. So they've got a long stint to go. We're going to have a horse race on our hands, folks.
Along the 6,200-foot back straight. Of course, they don't use all of it. They turn to the front side. Runway 6 right, 24 left here at Burke Lakefront Airport. And then back onto the backside again. Across that concrete surface, because it's very light-colored concrete, it doesn't rise to the level of dark asphalt in ambient temperature, making it even harder to get those tires up to operating temps, I would think.
Bob, a little bit so here, but it's not really a problem because this is a high-speed track. There's a lot of fast corners, in the long straightaways. That brings up the tire temperature. It's not a problem.
First race lead this year for Christian Fittipaldi. He enjoys his time on the water, both in his native Brazil and in his home in Florida. Nephew of the Emerson Fittipaldi, the great Emo, who won this race at Cleveland 3 times, matching Danny Sullivan's record. What a breath of fresh air for Christian, who got as far as the first corner in our most recent race in Portland before he was involved in an accident not of his making. There's Michael Andretti, his teammate, in 3rd.
You talked earlier about guys that would need to score points. Let me tell you, this Newman-Haas team needs to score points, particularly Christian, who's had a really fraught year and hasn't had a great time since he broke his leg in Australia last year.
If you listen to the pit lane buzz, you know, his seat, he's kind of on the bubble. So he needs a big result here. Now, he's running strong now. If he has to pit at the end, that will rival Rahals for bad call of the year award in terms of not coming in. He was running very strong, didn't need to gamble, but now he's faced with it. If he can't go to the end, that's not looking real sharp.
Tommy, I definitely agree with you. He cannot go 42 laps. Nobody's proved that out here. And the Cosworth has not been the most economical in fuel consumption over the course of the year. So I think they're playing games with us down there.
25 laps to go. You see the running order at the bottom of your screen with the gap behind the leader expressed in seconds. There is Fittipaldi. Gary Gerould, let's get more.
Well, we're checking on the story about Christian Fittipaldi and his fuel. He's got complications because of a sporadic radio that's in and out. But look up here on top of his fuel tank. Lucky the Duck has been resurrected. This was found in Phoenix when he first tested with Derek Walker in 1995, and he felt like it brought him some good luck. They need some good luck, so they've got Lucky back in sight prominently here. And also, Bob, he still carries that quarter that he won on a bet from Paul Newman in his pocket as another lucky charm. Will it pay off today for Christian? Boy, he's hoping so.
Well, there's a lot of superstitions up and down the pit lane. Christian Fittipaldi used to have green accents on his yellow helmet. Of course, green is not a lucky color in racing. Back at Cleveland coming up following our coverage of this Grand Prix of Cleveland, except on the West Coast, the World Cup Soccer Final. Brazil, 4-time champs against France, which invented the World Cup but has never won it. ABC Sports coverage is coming up next, except on the West Coast.
This is a great battle going on right there.
My point exactly.
Tracy, Michael Andretti, and look, Dario Franchitti was trying to take it from him and move Paul back another spot. Michael made a great move in there. Sorry to jump in there, but that was a great battle going on.
A couple of hard heads getting together there. Andretti and Tracy. Tracy is a lap down, we should point out.
That doesn't mean anything to Paul. He's going to fight just as hard.
The order is Fittipaldi, Zanardi, Andretti, Franchitti, and Pruitt. Al Unser Jr. is in 6th. Brian Herta 7th. Adrian Fernandez 8th. Gilles de Ferran is 9th. And in 10th place, Jack Arute has more.
Well, 10th place is your pole sitter, Jimmy Vasser, who was the only driver at the start of this race that had any hope of scoring a $255,000 bonus. But earlier today, in the last practice, they encountered problems with the gearbox. They made a quick change before the start of the race. Unfortunately, in making that change, the Ganassi team for Vasser failed to correctly install all the electronics. Since the drop of the green flag, Jimmy Vasser has struggled with a manual shifting situation where he has to engage and disengage the clutch every time he goes up and down the gearbox. I just asked Tom Anderson, his team manager, what effect did that have on the run? He said it's knocked us back to where we are right now.
And that is 10th place. Bobby Rahal 11th. Mark Blundell is 12th. Patrick Carpentier 13th. Max Pappas is 14th. Then Paul Tracy, Tony Kanaan, and Arndt Meyer. In 18th place is Mauricio Gugelmin, who's had a couple of off and ons today for the Pac West team. Alex Barron, moments ago, lost the Toyota engine in his car. He was listed as 19th. He is now out of the race. Richie Hearn, currently shown as 20th, but he will move up.
Bob, Jack brought up a very good point, you know, about the clutch and so forth, and Jimmy having to do it, driving with the clutch. For most people at home, they didn't realize that you actually don't use the clutch in these race cars except to get going out of the pits.
There's a look at our fuel window analysis. Christian Fittipaldi has run a little over 20 laps on his current load of fuel, mostly green flag except for the little band in yellow. He will be the first to reach that fuel window before the end of this race. been a spectacular weekend here at Cleveland as you look at Fittipaldi, who has pitted only twice in this race. I'd like to add a personal note here. Earlier in the weekend, I was walking in the paddock, managed to lose my wallet somehow within minutes, and I mean within minutes. It was in the hands of security and back in my hands, completely untouched. I have no idea who turned it in. I would thank them if I could find them. Cleveland is the kind of place you want to live. Cleveland doesn't rock, it rules in my book.
Hey, Bob, I found it. I'll collect that reward.
I didn't say I was offering a reward.
Oh,
Hey, Bob, let's update you. There is some blood in the water out here by the lake, namely the blood that's being laid down by your leader, Christian Fittipaldi. Chip Ganassi has sensed and realizes that Fittipaldi has to come in to pit again, but he wants to hedge the bet. So what he just radioed to Alex Zanardi is pick up the pace, pressure Fittipaldi, make him expend as much fuel as possible, and let's put him beside the boards. Back to you.
Thanks, Jack. Saw the numbers on Andretti there. Great shot there of Michael Andretti on the runways, running at speeds far beyond those that a Learjet or even a 737 uses to lift off of these runways at Burke Lakefront Airport when this place is operating. Some 85,000 operations per year. Now let's get more on Andre Ribeiro. Gary Gerould.
Andre Ribeiro, we saw some of your adventures today. I know it's been a tough day. How tough is it not being able to finish these races for you?
Well, of course, it's very, very tough. It's very disappointing. But on the other hand, we have been proving race after race that our car is competitive. We had a good run out there. Unfortunately, the gearbox, we had a problem with the gearbox again. The guys are working flat out, trying to improve this. I'm sure that our day will come.
We'll see you in Toronto. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Tough day for Andre Ribeiro, but things are looking up for the Penske team. There goes his teammate Al Unser Jr., currently in 6th, and running just behind Scott Pruitt in 5th on the racetrack.
These guys have been dicing it up pretty hard, and Al Jr. is getting a taste of something I had back in Trans Am, just how hard Scott Pruitt can be to pass when he wants to. He uses some creative lines, and Al Jr. is a master, usually finding a way by. For him to hold Al Jr. off this long is testament to that racecraft.
I think that was a very polite way of Tommy saying that he's had some problems with Scott in the Trans Am days.
I'm saying he can block like anybody.
Yeah, and I can attest to that in IndyCar. Scott's a tough guy to get by. He knows how to make that car wide.
Looking for a top finish is Scott Pruitt, currently in 5th, but he's got Al Unser Jr. just behind him.
In Scott's defense, frustration from the kind of year he's been having tends to fuel that kind of stuff. And you rationalize it, well, I can get away with it because I've had such a lousy year. So that's in his defense. Soften it just a touch.
Here's the view from our Honda Helicam. Pruitt on the left, Unser Jr. on the right.
Tommy, as you know, too, the longer we get into this race and the closer to that checkered flag, guys get very, very difficult to pass late in the race.
Look at the ground that Al Jr. is making up in that section. That's one of the roughest sections of the track, and it looked like Al Jr. just ran right through the bumps and was able to close about 2 car lengths.
But Scott seems to be holding his own. It's not like Al's right behind him, all over him, and Scott's doing anything. He's driving his own race very good here. The car seems to be working strong where it needs to be, down the straightaway.
And you can add escalating frustration for Michael Andretti still again. He's got a fuel concern right now. The crew is telling him he has got to conserve. He's currently running in 3rd place, and they tell him that in order to finish, he's going to have to make 1.9 miles per gallon. And Michael is saying there's just no way that that can happen, or he's going to have to give up a position, and I think it's Franchitti who is challenging behind him. So tough ways continue here for at least one portion of the Newman Haas team. Meanwhile, Fittipaldi, we're waiting to see if he'll have to come in for a splash as our race leader.
It is Dario Franchitti just behind Michael Andretti. 15 laps to go next time by. There is the temporary Omega timing and scoring facility set up at 6 a.m. Friday morning. It'll be gone when this airport goes operational tonight. 15 laps to go in the Grand Prix of Cleveland. When will Christian Fittipaldi stop? Can anybody stop Alex Zanardi? We're about to find out, commercial free. On a city that has been resurrected. Congratulations to all of its fine citizens who have shown us a great time here this weekend. Round 10 of the CART FedEx Championship Series. Christian Fittipaldi on the lead with a pit stop in his future. Alex Zanardi second. This man, Michael Andretti, third. With fourth place, Dario Franchitti drawing closer with each second that ticks away. 12 laps to go next time we cross the stripe.
And Michael Andretti, of course, has had some of the worst words a racing driver can ever hear, which is conserve fuel. You have to slow down late in the race. You got Dario Franchitti with a Honda engine that is typically a very efficient engine when it comes to fuel, breathing all over him, and not very far behind him is Scott Pruitt and Al Unser Jr. So he's in danger of losing not only one spot, but possibly three.
Well, more importantly, if Michael's having trouble, they're asking us to believe that Christian's going to go 10 laps longer than that. Now, I might have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. So Christian also has been streaking away, running quicker than Alex. So he's not running like a guy who's trying to conserve fuel.
But Tommy,
he's trying to go 10 laps further.
Yeah, and what's going to happen for Christian Fittipaldi, they know that there's no way they can get to the end with the available fuel that's on board. So he's just flat-footing it right now. In fact, the crew's getting ready to go over the wall. I think next time by, you're going to see Christian Fittipaldi headed for the pits.
He was trying to stretch it out there as far as he possibly could. Not so much for Alex Zanardi, although he would like that, but so that when he does join back into the fray, he hasn't lost too many spots.
And for Christian Fittipaldi, I don't think they'll change tires. They'll make this as quick as possible. It'll be the proverbial splash and go. Fuel only.
12 laps to go. The exhaust plumes out the back of Michael Andretti's Swift Ford on Goodyear tires. Winningest active driver in the series. That man, Dario Franchitti, still looking for his first win in his young CART FedEx Championship Series career. 14 cars still on the lead lap. You watch them hop sideways.
Well, don't forget their fuel loads are getting lighter and their tires are getting worn down, and he's got a spot in front of him that he'd like to take over. These guys are trying hard.
Christian Fittipaldi is in the pit lane. The race leader is in.
This should be quick. We'll watch them. No tires, fuel only, but they stalled the engine. Oh my. I don't know if he ran out of fuel by chance. And the engine won't come to life. That lucky duck is not paying off right now. Any kind of dividend. Still no fire for Fittipaldi. And they're approaching 20 seconds. Now it rose to life. And what should have been a quick splash and go turned out to be a 22-second stop.
They could have changed tires in that time as well, thrown on a fresh set of rubber, but that hurt him big time.
Christian Fittipaldi makes his way back on, trying to swallow the anger of that blown opportunity.
Back to that earlier comment, if he had to come in before the end, not stopping under that yellow was really not a sharp move. I understand hedging your bets, maybe going one with each, but that wasn't really even in close.
Tommy, I don't think that was even a good bet, because typically at this track we don't have that many full course yellows. They're usually a local yellow, so to count on something like that to be able to take on the field is a little bit of a dream world.
Alex Zanardi now the race leader with Michael Andretti second, Dario Franchitti third, Scott Pruitt fourth, Al Unser Jr. in fifth.
How many times have we seen it where the Honda has allowed them to do different things to stretch their stops, longer winters, etc. I flew home with Tom Elliott and said, you guys really haven't been covered on this. He was very gracious. He said also, we are very, very lucky to have Alex, and that says a lot.
No question about it. Alex Zanardi is qualified on the front row in virtually half of his starts in this series, now numbering just over 40. The team has won 6 of the last 9 races, including 4 straight. And the next time Zanardi wins a race, if it happens today, he will tie Paul Tracy for 4th among active drivers on the all-time win list, 8th all-time in the CART series. That's how dominating Alex Zanardi has been as you watch Michael Andretti. And keep in mind, both Alex Zanardi and Jimmy Vasser are driving on the racetrack where their car owner, Chip Ganassi, scored his best ever finish as a driver in this series, a 2nd place. 1984, I believe it was, Danny.
It was 1984. I remember that very well.
Wow, why would you remember that?
Well, my first win in kart racing and my first win here at Cleveland. It was a great day for myself.
There is Franchitti, a fraction of a second behind Andretti. See, the personal lifestyle of a celebrity racing driver has its perks. Michael's father, Mario, here, of course. Paul Newman and Carl Haas, his car owners. Wife Leslie here as well.
They may have told Michael to slow down, but he sure isn't showing much signs of it right now. So if he's conserving fuel, he is really throwing this thing through the corners.
And Danny, if he doesn't slow down, from what we've heard down here, he will definitely run out of fuel.
8 laps to go for race leader Alex Zanardi and those on the lead lap behind him. 92 laps in the books. Checking lap times that last time by. Brian Herta checking in with the quickest lap at a 59.322. As you watch Al Unser Jr. in 5th spot.
Danny, you already told us those you don't have enough fuel, you've got to back it off with the last words that a driver wants to hear. I'm talking to the engineers, one of the biggest factors in fuel mileage is driving style. Certain guys get a lot better mileage than others. What are some of the things that you try to do to get better mileage?
Typically, the one thing they want you to do is turn down the mixture. Say you're 92% rich, they'll want you to turn it down to 90, even 88. But the thing that I always tried to do was short shift, not take it up to the maximum RPM, try to carry my speed into the corner a little bit more, and definitely stay off of blipping the throttle. Every time you go on and off the throttle, it uses up more fuel. So you want to be as gentle on that throttle as you can.
That's exactly one of the things. We didn't have the same sort of thing in Trans Am, but you could start with a lighter fuel load if you didn't do that. In the carburetor, it's called accelerator enrichment, or it's an accelerator pump. In fuel injection, it's a little AE, a little squirt of fuel every time you hit the throttle. So some of the guys, even though they're more wide open throttle, not blipping or changing the throttle mid-corner, saves a little in the fuel bank.
7 laps remaining in the Grand Prix of Cleveland. The laps ticking away for the man who won the first race here, Bobby Rahal. In the last 8 years, we have had 8 different winners in this race. And if Alex Zanardi can come through again, he will become the first driver in the 16-year, make that 17-year history of the race to go back-to-back in victory lane. Final few laps at Cleveland for that man, Bobby Rahal. This weekend, Firestone created the Bobby Rahal Award of Excellence to be awarded each year from here on out here at Cleveland. Another honor for a well-deserving driver in his home state in front of his home fans, Bobby Rahal. He'll have another shot to please those fans when we go to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio.
Something happened there. He got in wide. He got in very late, missed the apex completely. I do not know what happened now. Sometimes late in the race you can have brake fade here just because you've been using them so hard. That could have been Bobby's problem.
I thought maybe he was listening to me and missed it up just that little bit. He is supplanted by Mark Blundell in 10th place as you ride with Michael Andretti. Let's go to Gary Gerould.
For the body language here in Michael's pit just says this is almost a winless situation. They know they've got fuel concerns. The fuel calculations crew, one of them just said to me a moment ago, I have never, ever encountered anything in my years of racing that has been this tight on fuel. Michael trying to ease back and conserve, and Franchitti continues to nip at his heels should he bobble the slightest.
Still working that rev.
It sounds to me a little bit like he's coming out there and short shifting just a hair. There's not that much to be gained by going an extra 500-600 RPM when you're just accelerating up to top speed.
And Danny, now Franchitti's crew has told him that he can go up. He can richen the fuel mixture 1 click, which is usually in 2% increments, as you mentioned a few moments ago. So that may make him a little more of a contender in trying to overtake Michael Andretti.
Gary, also, they've got a little button on that wheel. If he gets close enough, they can hit it. It gives him about a little 15-second shot of more fuel and a little bit more RPM if it's just a place where he thinks he can get by.
Checking speeds at the line with 4 laps to go for Alex Zanardi. Across the timing stripe, Michael Andretti in second. He was faster that last lap than Zanardi, but he is about 10.5 seconds back up the road. Michael is concerned not with the man ahead of him, but with the man behind him, Dario Franchitti. And 2 places behind Franchitti is Brian Herta, who is just 2 points ahead of Michael Andretti in the battle for the PPG Cup. So Michael has the chance. He came in 7th place. He could move up to 6th. Al Unser Jr. is back in 12th. check that. He has been passed by Christian Fittipaldi. And Al Jr. is in the pits, which explains the pass. Oh, and we've got a car in the tire wall down in turn number 8.
Oh, is this a blessing for Michael Andretti? That's Paul Tracy.
And you should have seen the smile that crossed the face of Ed Nathman and Peter Gibbons when they realized what had happened. They thought maybe it'd be yellow and they could conserve some of that fuel, but the smile was only fleeting as we're still green.
That's a double hit for Team Cool Green. Not only have one car into the barriers, also Franchitti is losing a little bit of his edge.
It is not a full course caution. It is only a local yellow. So the drivers, when they are past Paul Tracy's stranded car, will be back up to racing speeds as you watch Michael Andretti. Two laps to go. Next time by.
Never mind on the double brake for Michael Andretti, I guess.
There's the scene of Paul Tracy's trip into the tires.
As you can see, he was a little ways off of the track. It's not the most dangerous spot, but they'd rather put out a local yellow and let everybody race to the flag and not finish this under a yellow condition.
And you guys as former drivers, Tommy and Danny, I can't help but wonder, if you're Michael Andretti or his crew, do you at this stage of the season risk that you run out and finish way down the list in the last couple of laps, or do you sacrifice a position just so maybe you still end up on a podium and get some points?
Gary, I think the situation is they have to evaluate if they stop right now how far they drop down just taking that splash of fuel. It might take them out of the points completely, so it might not be an issue. If that's the case and they've had been robbed of a few victories here, they might say, hey, let's go ahead and roll the dice and see if we can come away with a second.
I think Long Beach showed us where Michael Andretti weighs in on that issue. He's going to stay out there if it's the last thing he does.
As you saw moments ago, all of the top 3 drivers are in the fuel window, but no way they are stopping. White flag coming up for Alex Zanardi, seeking his 5th victory of the year and an even firmer grip on the PPG Cup and that $1 million bonus. 1 lap to go, struggling with the wheel, foot firmly planted on the floorboards. Alex Zanardi trying to work that target Team Ganassi magic once again. For each lap in the lead, for each pole, for each race victory, there are donations made to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. And they have racked up a pile of donations today. Alex Zanardi and his teammate, the pole man for the Grand Prix of Cleveland, Jimmy Vasser. The Marlboro Pole Award bonus will go on to the next race and will go up to $270,000 on the streets of Toronto, Canada in a week's time. Just a couple of corners to go for the Italian stallion, Alex Zanardi. Off the corner he comes to take the checkered flags. World Cup Soccer is coming up next on ABC Sports. I'm Bob Varsha. For Danny Sullivan, Jack Arute, Gary Gerald, and Tom Kendall, congratulations to Alex Zanardi. So long from Cleveland.